I'm bothered more, I think, by Chris Pratt playing Garfield than Chris Pratt playing Mario.
Yes.
I
Is
don't
that
know.
because... Is that... Oh, I shouldn't be holding up a knife.
Why are you holding a knife?
It's my fidget, okay?
Hello there.
Don't have a good day. Have a great day.
Talk to me, Goose.
I'm gonna steal the Declaration of Independence.
Why so serious?
Squirrel! I could do this all day.
Are you watching closely?
Welcome, everybody, to the One Ed Film Podcast. I'm your host, Seth Mossberg, and Happy New Year! It's 2024! Woo! Woo! Yeah!
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I forgot to be excited. So much happened in 2023. It slowed me down.
Yeah. No, it is the new year, and that means we have a year of movies to look forward to. We're going to be talking about some of them. Some of them I didn't even know were coming out, and it's going to be some good conversation. We got Zach, Will, and Josh here. I don't think we haven't had a 4-person episode in a while, so this is gonna be fun. Hopefully in December we'll come back to this episode and see what we got wrong. But I also suggested for the 2023 recap that we do like awards for like kind of like our own Oscars. So we'll see if that happens. But for now, we're just gonna look at this list of upcoming 2024 movies and figure out what we're excited for, what we know about them, and let's get into it. Shall we?
Yeah.
The first one, we're going to be going chronological order. So that's soonest release to the latest release, to the best of my knowledge. Most of this list comes from Variety and the most anticipated movies of 2024. That was updated very recently. But there are going to be movies that come up that are going to be really good. Those are the ones I'm excited for. For example, Godzilla Minus One was not on our radar last year, and that turned out to be an amazing movie. So I can't wait to find out what those are for 2024. And there's going to be some pretty big flops on this list too. But starting off, we got Argyle. Do you guys know anything about Argyle?
I know Henry Cavill is in it, and that's all I need to know.
I saw the trailer. That's
Henry
it.
Cavill's.
And yeah. And did you just call him Cavill?
Cavill? Oh, it's Cavill, isn't it?
It's
Henry
Cavill.
Cavill.
I have never.
Okay.
It's not Camilla DeVille. It's Cavill. It's not Cavill.
Okay. What I was going to say, though, is that Henry Cavill has a funny haircut. Cavill. I'm saying it right. Isn't that the right?
Henry Cavill. You're putting
Cavill.
too much.
Okay.
You're putting too much emphasis on the wrong syllable. Go ahead. We know who you're talking about.
Cavill. Henry Cavill. He's got a funny haircut, and apparently Dua Lipa can act now. Only 2 things I have to say about that movie.
I'm
about
actually super excited for it, only because the concept seems super interesting and it looks fun. The title doesn't really give away what it is. You have to watch the trailer to understand. And I think it's really fun. It looks like a fun take on a creative side. Like, I believe it's a writer's story who's actually, like, her fictional story is either come to life or is actually real and she doesn't realize that it's been real the whole time. Something like that. But it's about spies. It's got some pretty cool action shots in the trailer. I'm excited to see it.
It looks good. It looks really
And
good.
Henry Cavill has a weird haircut, so that's plus. honestly, I remember hearing that this was coming out, and I saw the pictures of Henry Cavill, and I was like, what is this movie? It looks so dumb if they're going to put him in that, but then it makes more sense when you see the trailer. So check that out if you haven't. Madam Web. I didn't realize this was coming out so soon, but it's on the top charts. I think it's a spring movie.
Oh, I thought it was
Zach.
even sooner than that. I thought it was in, like, February. I might
We
be wrong,
can
though.
fact check this. February 14th, you're right.
Oh, yeah. February 14th.
Okay, here, I'm going to insert this fun fact for 2024 movies. The only Marvel movies are Sony Marvel. There
Well-
are no MCU movies.
No, there's Deadpool 3.
Still not official. I mean, okay, we'll get to that when we talk about Deadpool 3.
Okay.
When you consider the MCU and the movies that they released in 2023, there is none on the 2024 list. And this is both because of the actor strike and because they said they were going to start reevaluating. They said that. I don't know if they will. But that's really interesting that we're really not going to have Marvel in theaters for a whole year. That used to be a terrible thing back when COVID hit and we were like, oh no, we're not going to have Marvel for a year. Now I'm kind of glad. We will have TV shows apparently, and we'll get to those at the end. But that was something I realized is it's Sony Marvel that is going to take the stage in 2024.
I'm okay with that. I think I'm really okay with that.
Okay, but do you know the Sony Marvel movies that are coming out?
Well, Madame Web is one of them.
Oh, really? How do you know that one?
Just heard about it from a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Madame Web is an interesting one. It's like anything Sony Marvel does has been like, why? It's almost like the DCEU this last year, where you don't really know why they're doing it, but at least Sony Marvel isn't dying. Like they're still making movies like the hit blockbuster Morbius.
Come on, that had so many good memes, though. I'm telling you, that's what Madame Web is gonna be. That's what I hope it's gonna be.
Morbed all over the place.
Probably. I mean, it's think about like the Sony Marvel stuff is that like they only have like a very select amount of like copyright that they can claim over the Marvel heroes or thing. Basically, they only have like a select amount of like things that they can actually use to make movies, which is like why there's like that weird. Like Marvel has, like Disney wants Spider-Man, Sony kind of has Spider-Man, that whole dynamic. So they're only able to like make a smaller amount of like films, but most of those films are usually standalones. Like we've had Venom, and we've had like the Spider-Man's kind of working with the MCU, and then who are some other ones we've had, like Morbius. So it's interesting where like I think that in some cases that can kind of help Sony in the fact like they're not trying to build a cinematic universe because they kind of can't. I mean, at least not to the same extent that Disney and Marvel has, but they're mostly just putting out like standalone movies based on sometimes obscure characters within like the Spider-Man franchise, which is it's just like a very fascinating thing. Like we'll get to it later, but like when I heard that they were making a movie about Kraven, I was like, I mean, okay, but like, why? Because like it's just a very fascinating way how like that copyright has worked, and that's shaping how Sony is making movies compared to like Disney and Marvel, which is like pumping out everything because they have like the rights to like everything, and they can actually connect it all together to make this cinematic universe.
Yeah, I think they do well with what they have, and they don't have a lot. They have Spider-Man, and they really use that. Obviously, the Spider-Verse movies have done insanely well, but the live-action ones have kind of flopped. But they're better than DC. You got to give them that.
I know Blue Beetle did pretty good compared to
I
Morbius.
like Blue Beetle a lot.
Blue Beetle was an oddball, I would say. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like Madame Web is unfortunately Marvel's Batwoman. Batwoman got canceled, but I feel like these two movies would give off the same vibe. Is my opinion, my prediction.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll see it.
Madame Web looks a lot like an early 2000s Marvel film, but not like Spider-Man or X-Men, more like Daredevil or Elektra. So I don't have the highest hopes for it. So
it's almost you're right. Yeah. It's like it sits in that era of, do you know how to make a superhero movie, or at the very least building up to a somewhat decent average superhero movie. It's gonna be a 5. It's gonna be like wasn't good, wasn't bad.
Apparently supposed to feature a young Ben Parker. So I think that's probably the most interesting part of it.
I will say this could be interesting for this live-action Spider-Verse, or its tie-ins to Into the Spider-Verse and that trilogy, because they've made it obvious that you can tie into not only live-action Spider-Man, but Lego Spider-Man and all others. I just wanted to call out the Lego Spider-Man scene. That was really cool. But there was live action in the latest one. There was references to the three Spideys that we've known, because Madame Web is supposed to be like the queen of the Spider-Verse, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. And she's supposed to be an old woman, but apparently she's played by Dakota Johnson or whatever. But regardless,
Need to have someone attractive in the role. That's how it works nowadays.
Honestly, they needed somebody who looked good to carry that movie, because I don't know what else is bringing it along. Yeah. I think if I had to predict anything, it could be good because of Spider-Verse possibilities. There you go.
That's fair. Speaking of movies that need attractive lead roles to carry the film, we got Timothée Chalamet, Florence Pugh, Zendaya, and then Christopher Walken. All four of them.
And Austin Butler.
In Dune 2, Part 2.
Austin Butler.
Can't forget about Austin Butler. I was mainly just thinking about Christopher Walken. He's too old. Yeah, we'll go with that.
The Dune movies have a lot of studs. We'll say that, both male and female. It is crazy how many big name actors they got to take roles in that movie. So I'm excited to see it. This probably will actually make me want to watch Dune. And
I heard so many good things
and finish
about the
it.
first one. I've gotta watch it.
Yeah, It's not bad. I've heard it's really good, and so watch that, and then watch Dune Part 2, and let us know how they work. Kung Fu Panda 4. Are you guys Kung Fu Panda people?
I'm a Kung Fu Panda person.
Okay. I think you
Poe
were.
has my heart. I love
Yes.
I think due to the nature of video essays online, I've grown more attached to the Kung Fu Panda trilogy. Like, I watched them a little bit when growing up, but I've never been like super attached to them. But I've like grown more appreciative towards them, and the fact that they had a really good trilogy. So I'll just say this: like, pretty much for the Kung Fu Panda 4, I was like, oh, neat. Why? And please don't mess up. That's pretty much my thoughts.
We have a number on
it's a-
this list for this year of like why you didn't need to make another one, but it could be good. Like Kung Fu Panda, I know has had a lot of a big loving fan base because DreamWorks is the way it is. That's how DreamWorks movies tend to go, and I hope they can deliver. But again, maybe 3 was just enough to stop at, and we're still in that era of just riding off of other winners from the past and riding off of nostalgia.
Yeah, the trilogy
That is a good
is very special to me, especially the first 2. And it seemed kind of obvious that they were just planning 3. So, I mean, this feels a lot like Toy Story 4 to me, in just that same type of situation where, especially, it's kind of worrisome to me how little the Furious 5 have been in the marketing this far. In Toy Story 4, a lot of the main characters from the first 3 films got pushed to the side, so I'm kind of afraid that's going to happen to the Furious 5 and Kung Fu Panda 4 here now, and I want you to care about this new character instead of all these characters that you've cared about in the past films. So I'm cautiously optimistic.
I think you bring up a good point with Toy Story 4. We should talk about that sometime because it's a great trilogy, I think. Toy Story 4 is one that should have ended at a trilogy. It had a good ending, but I also think that the 4th installment was insanely good for the sake of animation, for one, because I do have a degree in animation.
He does have a degree in animation.
Okay, Seth, I know you've mentioned it a couple times. That's one movie series that you can compare the first one and the last one and be like, wow, computer technology has changed. But besides that, it had a good story, maybe not centered around Andy like the first 3 did, but I still think it wasn't bad. I don't think it leaned into bad. It's a different topic for another time, but that's kind of when we get outside of a trilogy. Is a lot of movies have finished their trilogies in these last couple of years, and then they've announced a 4th movie, even as long ago as Indiana Jones 4. It's like, why? You have a trilogy. A trilogy is a good number, a good amount of time to tell a longer story. So why do a 4th one unless it's necessary to the story and actually builds off of it? And like what you're saying, Zach, are they starting a whole new story arc without the characters you've been along the ride with this whole time? Or are they actually telling a story that could and needs to be told for that world?
But why stop at 3 when you can make 4 and then make more money?
More money.
Money is the motivation.
Yeah, just a random thing I noticed, just in regards to like the list you have. I'll just quickly put this out there, but I did like do a quick measurement, and like I think you have, just in regards to like the movies that you have on the list that we've got, like 28 films or so, and like out of all of those films for next year, like only 4 of them are completely original in the sense that they're not an adaptation, they're not a sequel to anything, they're not based on any existing IP. And those ones that I see so far are like Argyle, Civil War, The Fall Guy, and If. So that just a little bit of food for thought to think about the fact that like most of the major films that at least that we're going to be talking about are adaptations or they're sequels or they're based on something that already exists rather than being generally a new concept.
You make a great point, Will. I was looking at it myself and I was like, yeah, there's even some oddballs like Borderlands, which I was like, well, Borderlands would be original, but no, Borderlands is based off of a video game. So yeah, we'll get to those in a bit.
I was just going to say, they have said that this might start a new trilogy, which I guess is kind of promising than just having a 4th film, but we'll see.
Just make a new story, new characters, new world. It doesn't need to be Kung Fu Panda.
I am all for Kung Fu Panda. You guys sound kind of skeptical about it, but I'm stoked. I'm stoked. Kung Fu Panda is close to me because Kung Fu Panda has the first time I ever like actually got chills from a movie, and that's from the second one where he starts like doing. You guys know
Rolling the
exactly
fireballs.
what scene I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
I remember watching that in theaters, and I was like grabbing my seat on the edge, like, this is the coolest thing. This is peak animation. This is peak storytelling right here. And I thought that the third was also great. Like Kai's theme was, I also gave me goosebumps. it's just a great trilogy, and I heard that they were also going to be making a new trilogy, and I was all for it because I cannot get enough of Jack Black playing a panda that eats a ton of dumplings and knows kung fu and is like the greatest at kung fu. Like that's like what a setup. I think it's great. I'm stoked.
That scene of Po throwing the fireballs at the end of Kung Fu Panda 2 is such a fond childhood memory for me. Seeing that in theaters was so awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I'm hyped for this one. Purely because of that.
I added it to my list. I'll get it watched. I do appreciate from what I've seen, the few clips I've seen, is the Po and his dad, the adopted jokes are so funny.
Those are good. Those are good.
Anyways, moving on quickly and swiftly because we're already a number of minutes into this episode. Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. I have not watched any Ghostbusters movies, actually. I haven't even watched the originals. This is where Zach yells at me for not watching a classic.
I mean, I just saw them recently in the past couple years, so
okay.
I'm not going to judge you too hard for these.
I did see that it would be one thing if Ghostbusters was continuing on in name only with a new cast, and it is to a degree, but it's still roping in the old guys because I don't know that they trust their own story and their own production. Like if they're still relying on the old guys like Bill Murray and I don't even know the names of the other people, I don't know that they trust themselves. So I wish they would get a good story down and let those guys be. Let them retire, man.
Yeah, Bill Murray does not look like he's ready for another film. He's getting kind of old. How old is he? He is 73 years old.
Oh my goodness.
74 this year. So he's
not as bad. I shouldn't say as bad. Being old is a gift.
Yes.
I've seen videos of Dick Van Dyke, and he is a thriving 98-year-old. Like, he is working out. He's going to theaters. Besides the point. Godzilla x Kong. Have any of you kept up with the Monsterverse?
I've seen Godzilla and Skull Island.
You gotta watch -1. I've heard so many good things.
Godzilla -1 is not a Monsterverse movie. It's a standalone. Don't rope it into that garbage. No.
Fair enough. But I just think big monster, big cool.
True.
Monsterverse might be garbage, but it's fun garbage.
It's fun garbage. My college roommate and I were going to be like the Monsterverse stands. Like we watched Skull Island before Godzilla vs. Kong came out. And then we went and saw Godzilla vs. Kong. And we were like, this kind of sucks. Like, it doesn't have a story. It's just monster punchy, lizard versus monkey superhero movie, which has its place. It just doesn't make for a good movie. It makes for a good action special. And that's what these movies are. I think that they're going a little crazy with like the Earth in the middle of the Earth and whatever they call it. I think they're biting off way more than they can chew, is my opinion.
I agree. I do think that the Godzilla vs. Kong did deliver exactly what people wanted, and I think they're still kind of trying to push it. Like, you're going into a big monster movie to see big monsters fight and a tremendous amount of CGI budget, and I think they're going to do great in delivering that.
It's a very Americanized version of these characters, and I think King Kong is technically an American character, but especially modern Hollywood, what they've done to classic characters like Godzilla and Kong is kind of disappointing, especially after seeing Godzilla -1. Civil War, not Captain America Civil War. Civil War is going to be a movie about what if America went to war with itself today. I've seen the trailer. It's kind of chilling. I'm sure it's not going to lean on the Christian conservative side of things, the side that I identify with, but it would be interesting as a fictional outlook on like Civil War in American history was a long time ago in the early years of the country, and what would that look like now, especially with how ideologies have changed. So I would hope for at least an accurate perspective on people's opinions and worldviews instead of a straw man fallacy the whole way for both sides. But I think it's interesting enough to give it a watch and see. This would probably play into our culture versus entertainment topical episode that we did of, is this descriptive of what we're seeing now, or is it going to influence a big shift in politics and in our social climate in America?
I have seen the trailer, and there's a few things that are interesting. One is that it's by A24 I think that's the correct company, which is not
A24.
like Hollywood specifically. It's not an indie company, but it's like its own thing. So that's interesting. But I think that might mean that it's not going to be as preachy, hopefully, or prescriptive, I described it. And based on from what I can tell about like the trailer is that it's obviously being made in a climate where a lot of Americans are feeling more contentious, and there's a greater political divide between progressive and conservatives within the country. And that is obviously kind of like not necessarily feeding on that, but it's like very much emerging out of that discourse that's happening in the country right now. And there is a slightly growing fear of what would happen if, revolts and actual violence and civil war actually happens in this country. There's a growing fear for that nowadays. And I think that's just kind of an outburst of that. From what I can tell from the trailer, the civil war that's being depicted isn't being shown specifically as a completely progressive and conservative, who's right, who's wrong type of a thing. Because as far as I'm aware, the Western forces, which are like the bad guys, I think, is like Texas and California, which you wouldn't normally assume would, due to general political affiliations went to line or whatever. My prediction would probably be that the film is basically going to show the horrors of civil war and the dangers that can bring, especially as we go into election year, which is going to be very politically tumultuous because it's always like that. So it'll be interesting how it all ends up and how it will be received by most people.
You bring up a good point, having it release in an election year, and it is earlier in the year, but I think that could be interesting to see how this could overlap with, primaries and the official election in November. So trying to stay neutral, you guys. I'm trying. Coming up on one of my most anticipated movies of 2024 is The Fall Guy.
Oh.
I don't know why. I'm so stoked for this one. Anytime I see the trailer, I'm like, shot to the heart, and you're too late. Such a white boy of me, I know. But man, Ryan Gosling, Emily Blunt, I believe it's Winston Duke is in it, and just the concept of a stuntman who needs to that's another of the early 2000s vibe of movies, is like a stuntman needs to suddenly go on an adventure and use his skills that are supposed to be fake and actually use them to win his love and win her heart. It's like, it seems like a wacky and fun movie. And honestly, this is so weird. Seeing Ryan Gosling jump from the camera arm onto the helicopter gets me hyped so much. I cannot wait for this movie, and it's gonna be so goofy and so fun.
I'm really excited. My dad and I are actually planning on going because he actually watched the TV series that it was adapted on.
Oh, it's an adaptation? No.
It's not original. But it's an adaptation of a TV series turned into a movie.
It's fine.
So
I haven't seen it, so to me it's original. It should still be good.
Yeah. It's not very heard of. I think they kind of just found something that maybe like a small niche of people found and liked. And then they're like, this is great. Let's show the rest of the world this. So I think that's kind of their goal with it, and it's going to be good.
That stuff, I don't mind. Those type of adaptations, I think, are really good. Taking something small and bringing it to light. Things like Garfield. Garfield is coming up in a second. Everyone knows Garfield. Maybe not the younger generation. That kind of scares me. Does Gen Alpha know about Garfield? Regardless, taking lesser known things and bringing them to more popular means, I think, is a lot of fun.
Well, it's more Ryan Gosling content, so I'm not complaining.
Yes,
I'm not gonna complain either.
More Ryan Gosling memes. Just
it looks like 20 other action films, but I mean, it still looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Now, if we're gonna move on to the next one, speaking of Ryans that we just can't get enough of, we got Ryan Reynolds in It, or Imaginary Friend. Dude, I've been itching to watch another Ryan Reynolds movie for a while, and I'm really excited for this one. This one reminds me of Inside Out in live action, but it's different because it's not emotions, it's imaginary friends. But man, it's a good idea. It's one of those John Krasinski, Ryan Reynolds type of movies that is like, in a pitch meeting, the intern goes, what about this idea? And you're like, that's a good idea. We're making that one. And it looks like it's made with heart, with John Krasinski directing and Ryan Reynolds starring and a bunch of other big names. I think it's going to be great. When did John Krasinski start directing?
Quiet Place, right?
With The Quiet Place, yeah.
This is news to me. I didn't know that.
That's what's so good.
I feel really behind.
Yeah. I think the directors or the actors who direct are some of the best. Tom Cruise, Ryan Reynolds,
Tom Cruise,
John Krasinski. Tom Cruise acts and, well, not directs. He's not a director, but he has a huge hand in making the movie come to life from the behind the scenes. He doesn't just receive a script and do what he's told. He has a hand in making it happen.
Yeah, I was just going to say about If. I mean, it's John Krasinski's third movie he's directing, and it's just so different and so random compared to the A Quiet Place film. So that's really interesting to see. And having Ryan Reynolds in the lead role, super cool. It's awesome.
Yeah.
But it's also, there was a cartoon from like the early 2000s called Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of that, but this movie is basically the same type of thing. So, but it still looks like a really fun movie, and I'm probably going to see it. So.
Oh, you're right. It's even got a big purple monster.
With John Krasinski co-directing If, I got a question. Does that mean that he's still going to be directing in A Quiet Place Day 1?
No, he won't be directing that one. The concept is his idea, but he's not directing.
Okay, because I was just wondering, because that's gnarly if he's trying to co-direct 2 movies coming out in 2024 so close together. But that's it.
Ryan Reynolds and John Krasinski are 2 of the most charming guys in Hollywood, so it's just going to be really cool to see them do a movie together. So
for sure. Fury.
Oh, I had
Zach, help me.
Sound it out.
Furiosa.
Oh, Furiosa. Mad Max. I know that some people really like Mad Max, but I also feel like it falls into the Fast and Furious type of fans, but also they're made few and far between, so it's not that bad. Has anyone watched Fast and Mad Max at all?
No.
Okay.
I feel like you made one of the fan bases very mad, though, by comparing them.
To Fast and Furious? Yeah, you're right. Was it a game? Oh
no. So basically this is a prequel to the Mad Max Fury Road movie, which came out in 2015 by George Miller. And that was the 5th one in the Mad Max franchise, and the character of Furiosa was a really important character in that film. And this is like her story, essentially. So It seems like an interesting film, but...
And it's Anya Taylor-Joy and Chris Hemsworth. Seems legit. I don't know. I haven't watched them, so... hope that it does okay. The new Garfield movie. Chris Pratt, our favorite voice actor. We already talked about this, didn't we? We talked about him playing Mario, and then somebody brought up Garfield, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
For Garfield, it's one that I don't think is going to be as good as the live action one, only because back in the 2000s, they were unhinged and they wrote some good jokes. I feel like this is just going to be a toned down Illumination version of a beloved character that is played by Chris Pratt, because apparently there wasn't anyone else better. So there's that.
Wait, is this actual Illumination?
I just called it Illumination because that's what the style it seems. Sony Pictures, yep. So whatever.
Yeah, and Samuel L. Jackson playing Garfield's dad too, by the way.
I didn't know Garfield had a dad, so...
I'm bothered more, I think, by Chris Pratt playing Garfield than Chris Pratt playing Mario.
Yes.
I
is
don't
that
know.
because... Is that... Oh, I shouldn't be holding up a knife.
Why are you holding a knife?
It's my fidget, okay? Is that because we have a mind... Well, okay. I was gonna say, is it because we have a Bill Murray in our head of the lazy voice? But we watched. I think I sent you a video of the history of Garfield voices and how it's supposed to sound lazy. It's supposed to sound normal. I don't want whatever Garfield says. Normal. I want lasagna. Like an old guy. And Chris Pratt is so joyful. That kind of worked for Mario, but it does not work for Garfield. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. First off, a mouthful. But second, I watched through the Planet of the Apes trilogy. I really liked it. It's one that the CGI still holds up. And I'm excited for this one, even though, spoiler alert, it doesn't follow the same characters, but for good reason. I'm excited because it takes an old theme of the Planet of the Apes. If you watch the originals, they were kind of wacky and creepy and time travel-y and otherworldly. This is more of a grounded version that's devolved into what the original was. So the original was humans are being hunted by monkeys, which is the opposite of what happened in our world where humans hunted the monkeys. But now there's a virus that has made humans dumber and back to and de-evolve. And so the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes trailer shows monkeys capturing humans the same way that they did back in the original story of it. So in one sense, it's a return to the old ways, but it's obviously not the original story from the books and from the original series. That's still interesting to me.
I do kind of want to watch the new original trilogy, because that seemed like a pretty good story and it seemed really good. Mm-hmm. And I think in comparison to like Kung Fu Panda 4, I think that this one works better, is that like it's a naturally evolving story and it's more like a saga. Mm-hmm. Because like the first trilogy, from my understanding, was like pretty succinct. It's like the origin, and this one seems to be more of a natural exploration and expansion of that. So it looks good. Hopefully it does well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I got not much on it either. I have never really been into those movies, but this, based off of the hype from this one, it may be the one to get me into them, because I've got a lot of friends at college that are going to be watching it. So I might go with them, and then I'm going to be lost, and then I'm going to try and find my way in the original trilogy.
Andy Serkis is another one of those directors who, if he has a hand in the production, it's going to be pretty good. And he has his mocap in this, and his acting of Caesar throughout the trilogy was so good. I loved it.
Well, Seth, Andy Serkis was the one to direct Venom: Let There Be Carnage, so...
You have a point that not everything that a person does, if they have a few good things, means that everything is good. Yeah, that one threw me. Like, why was he part of Venom: Let There Be Carnage? I don't know. But at the same time, you thought that Indiana Jones was actually going to be something because of James Mangold. So
yeah, I did.
There's
Yeah,
we all have our moments.
Touche.
Inside Out 2. I have a bone to pick with Inside Out 2.
What's that bone?
It is Disney, modern day Disney, making a sequel to Inside Out 2 talking about puberty. Where do you think this story is going to go? How do you expect them not to talk about puberty in a worldly way, even to go as far as Riley exploring her sexuality and her which gender she's attracted to and things like that? I guarantee if they made Turning Red the way they did, there is no way they don't touch on that in Inside Out 2, and that ruins it for me, because Inside Out was a great movie. It was just objective, in your mind, what could these emotions be like, personifying them, giving them a journey. That was fun. I think this is going to go off the rails and become another woke Disney movie that parents should not bring their kids to see. That is my bold prediction. I am standing by it, and I will be happy to be proven wrong and have this movie redeemed, but I would put money that that's what's going to happen.
How much?
How much?
How much? No, I may be one of the people betting against you, Seth. Now, my hopes are not high, but just from looking at like the cast list and from what I'm hearing, it's not going to be about attraction. It's more going to be about dealing with anxiety and mental health problems. That's what I have heard, but
you expect them to do a good job with that, or to just say go to your therapist?
I see. Okay. I think that it has the ability to be good and talk about emotions in a way that possibly teenagers would be able to understand. Because emotions are confusing, and I think that it is feasible that if they're not going the route of trying to push some sort of agenda about who or if people are attracted to anything or anyone, if they don't go that route, it has the potential, and it is feasible that they would be able to put out a good movie that is just exploring like what fear, what anxiety, and what some of these new emotions that you come across are. It's possible, but I still think that it's a smaller chance than it being a crap movie, truthfully. But I am saying that I think there is a little bit of hope. So I'm not down in the dumps about it. Because, I mean, so previous, the first Inside Out, it followed Joy. Amy Poehler, is that her name? I don't know how to say her last name. I think it's Poehler. Parks and Rec lady, yeah. She was Joy. She's still Joy, but we're actually following anxiety. Like, that's the main character. That's who we're following. So anxiety could go a lot of ways, but I think Maya Hockey, I think is her name.
Hockey.
Hawk.
Maya Hawk.
I don't know.
Yes, Hawk.
Yeah, Maya Hawk. I think Hockey is a cooler name. I think she should.
It is.
I don't know. I think she could do good.
Did you guys hear that Jessica Biel will not name her son Batmo?
Oh, that's too bad.
Why?
Batmobile.
I missed joke. I missed it. Where'd it go?
R/whoosh. Sorry, I had to make that one.
I was going to say, though, to add to Inside Out 2, just that I thought the first one was a great standalone concept film, so for the most part, I just don't see the need for the sequel.
Yes. Again, another why movie. I think the way the it's not even post credits. It was the during credits scene. My dad loves that scene. I think that was the way to tell the story beyond the first movie, was just that 5-minute clip that Pixar did so well of what's inside a dog's mind, what's inside a cat's mind, what's inside a bus driver's mind. All those things just gave you a little taste of what was beyond Riley's brain. And I don't think, I mean, we'll still be in Riley's mind, but I think that was the extent of the story. And another Y movie. Not another Y movie, at least I don't think. A Quiet Place Day One. Zach, you love The Quiet Place. What are your thoughts on this one?
It's going to be, spin-offs are risky. You know, we're going to be following a new family or a new group of characters in this one. So, I mean, it could, I don't know. And with John Krasinski not at the wheel, I'm more optimistic than cautious, but
isn't Emily Blunt still in it?
No, she's not in this one.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
I thought she was. Let me look it up.
Emily Blunt is listed in the cast on Google. That doesn't mean anything. Also, Millicent Simmons is also in it. I think this is Google. Yeah, I know. Google is not always trustworthy. They said that Wolverine was going to be an Endgame, so
yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
How do you say that? How do you say that guy's name? Jimin Hansu?
Yeah, something
Joseph
like that.
Quinn. Joseph Quinn is in it. He's a fan favorite.
Yeah, she's not in it. It's just Google telling you.
Lupita Nyong'o. Again, sorry for butchering their names.
Shocker, you can't trust Google.
I think Jimon Hansu might be the only connection to the first two films because he showed up.
Yeah, because he was in the second one. I need to rewatch the second one.
Yeah, both of them so good. If you haven't seen them, go watch them. We have an episode on them.
Yeah, we do. Go listen to it. I think I was talking to my little brother Luke, and he is like, I don't like the Quiet Place episodes. They're too dumb and stupid. And I'm like, Zach walkout. Zach's our walkout character. Despicable Me 4, another Y movie.
All 4 of them were Y movies. Despicable Me should have never been.
Okay, that's a hot take that a lot of people will disagree with you.
Nah, this is my hot take. There's nothing good from them except for Victor, whatever you want to call him. It doesn't matter. Truthfully, he is the only good thing that I think that came from Despicable Me.
Yeah.
I would say the Minions.
They could have been cool. Minions could have been cool. I think, like, the idea of Minions could have been cool. But Facebook moms, they kind of ruined that one. I can't blame Despicable Me for that. But I really am not a fan of Despicable Me at all. Maybe it's because whenever I was babysitting a local family, that's all they'd watch. So there is a little bit of bias there because it was on all the time. But I do think that I still held that opinion within the first few times I watched it.
Yeah.
Now, did I still enjoy it in theaters because I enjoyed making fun of it? Yeah. That's about it.
Yeah. All the movies are stupid funny. And it's like, why am I laughing at this? But it's still like, it's kind of funny. I think the first Despicable Me was really crazy with the amount of big names they got into it. I didn't realize Russell Brand was Dr. Nefario. That was something that was a lot of fun to watch the behind the scenes of. Will Arnett was Mr. Perkins, and he was like the big fat man. Like, Will Arnett is talented, along with a lot of other names that I think Jason Segel is Vector. Man, good stuff.
From what I remember, the first two are surprisingly heartfelt for Illumination films, but after that, they're just kind of all the toilet humor. In the Minions movie, too, it's just all the toilet humor you'd expect from Illumination now.
And I know Despicable Me 3 was the one movie of, oh, you have a secret twin brother! That's lame story writing. That's not good. Like, make something creative. Deadpool 3. This could be interesting.
It's Ryan Reynolds.
It's Ryan Reynolds. I hesitate talking about Deadpool 3 on here because they are known for being raunchy.
This is true.
That is their whole point. The 2 movies that have come out. Well, 3 actually. The Deadpool Christmas version, that was PG-13. That movie existing shows what Deadpool is all about. It's about being raunchy. It's about swearing. It's about sex. And somehow tying into the MCU now. I don't know. It's got Wolverine in it now. Again, this is one that I would put a caution on for a lot of people. I rarely say watch or don't watch movies because we want to be respectful of people's convictions. But this Deadpool is one that is like, really, really be careful. Borderlining, just don't watch it. Like, it's not really going to be anything you benefit from.
It is not a movie that anyone in their right mind can suggest as a Christian. And this is Josh talking. But I don't think any Christian can watch it without in that moment being, I don't know, dirty about it. Like, it's not a clean movie. It's not something that I would suggest to anyone with being a stumbling block. I don't think that's something that you can do. So when I say that I am going to watch the movie, I don't want anyone else to watch it. This is me partaking in something that I don't 100% agree with, and you can get on me about that. But we will see if I finish the movie. That's the thing.
There you go.
Because there is a point where it gets to be too much. And if I watch it and we make a episode on it, or I mention it, I'll let you know, hey, it was too much. But we will see. I am excited only because I love Wolverine, and I really want it. I haven't seen the other two Deadpools. Or no, I watched the first Deadpool, but I didn't finish it. Okay. But I do want to see Hugh Jackman play as Wolverine one more time.
I think that's going to be a tough one for a lot of fans, especially with those who share our convictions. And I felt that is like Wolverine and Hugh Jackman have been hand in hand for over 2 decades. So what do you do with that? Do you go see the movie because it's a one last hurrah, even though Logan was supposed to be one last hurrah? Is like, I don't know. That's how X-Men kind of goes sometimes, though.
Torn here because I love Wolverine. I love Hugh Jackman in it, and I think Ryan Reynolds is great. I love him in a lot of movies. Free Guy that's like one of the top movies that I love him in. It's super funny, and I'm excited to see how he makes the movie just a Ryan Reynolds movie, but I'm also nervous on how he makes it a Ryan Reynolds movie because, truth be told, as much as I like the guy, he is not good with his tongue, and he does not have a Christian mouth by any means. At all.
Yep. You can't expect Christian values from non-Christian people.
Bars.
I more than likely won't be seeing it if it's just going to be another Deadpool movie. But, fans have wanted to see this Hugh Jackman, Ryan Reynolds, Wolverine, Deadpool team up for a long time. And fans have wanted to see Wolverine in the suit for a long time. So it's cool to see all that finally happening. And all of the multiverse shenanigans probably going to be pretty fun. There's some wasteland that we've seen set photos of with like a destroyed 20th Century Fox and a bunch of weird stuff like that. So they're going crazy with this one. But I mean, if it's going to be another Deadpool movie, I'm probably not going. So
yeah, they're usually pretty meta about that. That's what makes them funny. Last one for today. We are going to split this into a 2-parter because we like talking about this stuff and I don't really want to cut anything out. So the last one that I don't know when this one is releasing. What are we leaving you guys at for time? August 9th is when Borderlands releases. Josh, have you played Borderlands?
I think Josh might have played Borderlands.
Oh, no, he has not.
Okay, I've been wrong.
I have not. This might be one of the movies where it's like, okay, this is coming out. I gotta binge 4 games. 3 games? How many games are there? I don't even know. But like, I've seen a few posters about it, and I love the art style of the game. And I'm excited about this because Jack Black is in it, and I feel like he could make the movie. He could make it. Like he made Super Mario Bros. Don't get me wrong, Chris Pratt. He did a great job as Mario. But let's be honest. The star of the show is when Jack Black was playing as Bowser, singing about peaches. It's the greatest thing since probably like last year. I mean, there's some pretty cool things happening. I mean, but it was pretty great. It was pretty great, and I'm stoked for this movie.
Borderlands is a four game series. I have one of them, and I want to play it to at least get an idea of what the vibe of the story is. But yeah, it's another video game adaptation that, I don't know, we've had hit or miss, but they've kind of been getting better recently. So I'm interested to see that, especially knowing a little bit of the story going into it.
Yeah, from my understanding is the fact like the Borderlands is like it's like a near future kind of like punk-esque type of video game. There's like the first 2 that were really well received. I've heard that Borderlands 3 was like bad, and then another thing that a lot of people talk about was the Telltale. Like, oh man, Telltale, when they were pumping their stuff out, that was good. But yeah, Telltale stuff, and I know that Telltale, they made a game about the series, and that was really liked. So
yeah, I think what's going to be interesting about the Borderlands movie is if they'll follow this art style, because that's really what it's known for, is how it looks and the kind of cell shading that it has. But yeah, so there we go. We got through July, so over half of the year. I think that's doable for part 1 and 2. We do have less movies to talk about, but we're going to talk about shows in the next episode too. So stay tuned for that. I think we're going to have some good... I think I'll finish off part 1 of this episode, movie 2024 predictions, realizing that there is not a lot of crazy movies coming out this year. Like last year, we had a Christopher Nolan movie. We had Barbie, which I don't know that we knew was going to be as big as it was. We had Mission Impossible. We had a bunch of crazy big ones. This year, Deadpool 3 And what? I don't know that there's going to be any $1 billion movies. $1 billion is usually the mark of success. I'm looking at this list and I'm like, I don't know what's gonna be the one that hits the charts. So I
don't think any of them are making it $1 billion. I think it's just going to be a quiet year for movies. I think
Deadpool 3 will. I think Deadpool 3 will make $1 billion.
I don't think so.
You don't think so? What did the other two make?
Just like as an R-rated film,
Joker could.
They don't usually make as much. So
how much did the first Joker make?
Dune Part 2 might, and
like
some of these, sure. It depends on like how well received they are. Like I could see Dune Part 2. Like here's some ones that I think could make some really make bank. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes if it's really good. Dune Part 2 and maybe Kung Fu Panda 4 if it's really good. Maybe even Godzilla X Kong if enough people just go to watch it for pleasure. But
Joker also might.
But Deadpool 1 and 2 both made $780 million. Actually, very close. Like they're within.
So that is pretty impressive.
They're within $3 million of each other for the box office. So their average is 700 million, 800 million, somewhere in there. But yeah, I don't know. I think it'll be interesting coming back at the end to look back on the year, but kind of a toned down year. We're going to take it easy this year. We're going to see what pops up and review it all with discernment and one eye. We got to figure out a tagline. I still think Josh is friends with what did you say?
I said we should be the Fantastic Film Friends, or for short.
Thank you guys so much for listening or watching. Make sure you buy some merch in the link to the description. Follow our social, share with your friends, and make sure you come back next week for part 2. Know that you are loved. God bless.
Adios.
Peace out, brethren.
Bye.
Bye, buddy. Hope you find your dad.